The video begins in silence. Just the sound of rain hitting glass. Then, a deep sigh. T.I. sits alone, his eyes red, hands gripping the edge of a table like he's trying to hold himself together. For a moment, he doesn't speak. Then his voice cracks as he says, This one hurt. Fans didn't know what was coming next. They thought maybe it was another one of those emotional interviews where T.I. opens up about fame, family, or fatherhood. But this time, it wasn't about music or business or even himself. This time it was about his son, King Harris. The air in the room felt heavy. You could almost feel the weight of it through the screen. Because for years, people had watched King grow up. Loud, bold, confident, the life of every moment. The kid who said whatever he wanted, did whatever he wanted, and didn't care what anyone thought. But somewhere along the line, things changed. T.I. had spent months staying quiet as rumors about his son flooded the internet. Arrests, fights, leaked videos. People turned King into a headline before remembering he was still just a kid trying to find his place in the world. But this time, something different was going on. Something serious. The clip of T.I. went viral instantly. Not because of what he said, but because of what he couldn't say. His silence said more than any caption ever could. Tiny, his longtime partner, had already posted a story earlier that day. Just a black screen with the words, "Pray for us." And that's when fans knew. Something was wrong. Hours later, news outlets began reporting that King Harris had been hospitalized. The details were unclear. Some said it was a sudden collapse. Others whispered about stress, exhaustion, or even something worse. Nobody knew the full truth. Not yet. But one thing was certain. This wasn't just another celebrity rumor. This was real, and it broke something in T.I. Behind the scenes, people close to the family said he hadn't slept in days. He was pacing hospital hallways, barely speaking, refusing to leave his son's side. Tiny was there too, quiet, holding his hand, sometimes breaking down when the doctors walked in. The room that once held laughter now carried a silence so heavy it could crush you. For the first time, T.I., the man who built an empire, who stood tall through every controversy, every loss, every scandal, looked small, human, broken. The video he later shared online wasn't polished. It wasn't part of some publicity move. It was raw, filmed on his phone, shaky, no lighting, no filter. He started with a long pause before whispering, "I know y'all been hearing things, and I wish I could tell y'all it's all lies, but it's not." The words hit like a punch. Fans flooded the comments. People didn't know whether to send prayers or prepare for the worst. He continued, voice trembling. "Ain't no father supposed to watch their child go through what I'm watching right now. I tried everything to keep him safe. Everything." That line stayed with people. Because behind all the fame, all the music, all the celebrity drama, there was a father's heart breaking in real time. The video cut off suddenly. No ending, no music, just silence. But that silence said everything. Soon after, the family's close friend posted a message confirming that King was still in critical condition. They didn't share details, just that it was serious and that T.I. hadn't left his side. Fans from around the world began flooding social media with prayers. Old clips of T.I. and King laughing together resurfaced. Moments from family TV shows, birthday parties, concerts. It reminded everyone of what was being fought for, life. But as emotional as it was, not everyone online stayed kind. Within hours, comments started popping up. People blaming T.I. for failing as a father. Some said he let fame get in the way. Others brought up old family drama, saying this was karma. It was cruel. And yet T.I. didn't respond. He stayed offline, choosing silence over defending himself. Because at that point, nothing else mattered. Days passed. Cameras camped outside the hospital. Every small update became breaking news. Reporters claimed they saw Tiny walking out in tears. Another said T.I. was seen on the phone, yelling at someone, visibly distraught. Then came the moment that changed everything. Late one night, a leaked voicemail surfaced online, allegedly between T.I. and one of King's friends. In it, T.I.'s voice cracked as he said, if I could trade places with him, I would. Fans broke down hearing that. The man who always spoke like a boss, a king, a leader, now sounded like a father completely lost in pain. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. Doctors had told the family that King's recovery would be uncertain. They didn't know how long it would take, or if he'd even wake up the same. The news shattered Tiny. Friends said she had to be helped out of the room after hearing it. Meanwhile, the media frenzy only grew worse. Bloggers twisted every rumor, making it seem like King's condition was somehow his fault. But those who knew him, his real friends, came forward defending him, saying he'd been trying to change, that he'd been talking about getting help, and that he'd recently told people he was done with the chaos. It was a heartbreaking irony. The moment King was ready to turn things around was the moment life hit him hardest. T.I. later released a second message, this time more controlled. He thanked fans for their prayers, saying, "We appreciate the love. Keep sending it. We need it." But near the end, his eyes filled again. You could hear the exhaustion in his voice. "I just want my boy back, man." That's all. That clip alone got millions of views in hours. People who'd once criticized T.I. found themselves crying with him. It wasn't about fame anymore. It was about love. Raw, imperfect, desperate love. Behind closed doors, the family's dynamic shifted. Tiny and T.I., who had reportedly been living separately for months, were now together in the hospital every day. The arguments, the distance, none of it mattered anymore. There's something about pain that strips away pride. And then, after what felt like forever, something happened that no one expected. One early morning, nurses rushed into the room. Machines beeped. Doctors yelled orders. And then quietly, King's eyes flickered open. Tiny screamed. T.I. froze. For a second, neither of them believed it was real. But it was. King was awake. The moment spread like wildfire online. Fans who had been praying nonstop for days finally had hope. T.I. didn't post right away, but when he did, it was just a simple picture. His hand holding King's. No caption. Just that image, and that said more than words ever could. In the following days, T.I. opened up for the first time about what really happened. He said King had been under immense pressure. The fame, the expectations, the constant criticism. He said he wished he'd listened more and talked less. And when a fan asked him what he learned from it all, T.I. paused before replying, "That being a father don't stop when they grow up. That's when they need you the most." That line went viral for all the right reasons. It wasn't a quote from a rapper. It was a truth from a man. King's road to recovery wasn't easy. He had physical and emotional scars, and the world didn't suddenly become kind. But he was different now. Quieter, more reflective, more grounded. In one short video clip weeks later, King said softly, "I got a second chance. I ain't wasting it." You could tell he meant it. And the way T.I. looked at him during that moment, it wasn't pride, it wasn't relief. It was gratitude. The story of the Harris family had always been public. The highs, the lows, the fame, the fights. But this chapter felt different. It wasn't about celebrity headlines or gossip anymore. It was about forgiveness, growth, family. People began revisiting old interviews, ones where T.I. spoke about how hard it was raising kids in the spotlight. Back then, he'd said, "It's easy to judge from the outside, but every day I'm just trying to make sure my kids know I love them." Now, that quote hit harder than ever. As the months went by, King started to appear again, not at parties or red carpets, but in community projects, youth events, talking to kids about staying focused. He even mentioned how close he'd become with his father again, saying, "We went through hell, but we came out still family." That was the full circle moment. T.I. later did a podcast interview where he finally reflected on everything. His tone was calm, emotional, but hopeful. "Sometimes life humbles you through the people you love the most," he said. "It breaks you down so you can rebuild right. My son gave me that lesson. It was raw. It was real. And it reminded everyone that behind every headline, there's a story. One of love, pain, and redemption." The world might have watched T.I. as a rapper, a businessman, a celebrity. But this story reminded everyone that first and foremost, he was a father. A flawed one. A hurting one. But still, a father fighting for his son's life, his family's peace, and maybe even his own healing. By the end of the video, the rain that started it all has stopped. The same man who began broken and silent is now standing beside his son, smiling softly. Because sometimes the loudest battles end in quiet gratitude. And sometimes, even when everything falls apart, love finds its way back.